They pave paradise and put in a parking lot. Hello, Wonderhussy here, on the hunt for another hot spring. If you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you know that I'm absolutely obsessed with hot springs. And, well, today I'm looking for a hot spring that unfortunately I already know I'll never be able to find. I'm down here exploring in the area of the famous, or maybe infamous, Salton Sea. Why am I down here at this stinky, toxic, semi-abandoned giant lake looking for a hot spring that I know in advance I'll never be able to find? Well, there's actually two reasons. One, it's mid-March and the weather is friggin' awesome down here right now. Secondly, the hot spring I'm looking for has a friggin' fascinating history. Whenever I'm down in this area, I always think of the book and the movie Into the Wild about that kid Christopher McCandless back in the, late 80s, early 90s. He left everything. He came from a well-off family, had a good college degree, but he just left everything to go wander around and be a vagabond. Ended up dying in a bus up in Alaska. Most people are familiar with the story, and if you've seen the movie especially, well, then you know he spent a significant chunk of time down here around the Salton Sea. And if you've seen the movie, you might remember that he was living for a time, or camping, out at a hot spring. And not just any hot spring, it was a hot spring that they called Oh My God Hot Springs. I think they called it that because, well, there was kind of like a semi-permanent, permanent encampment of naked hippies and bohemian people basically living at the hot spring. And, well, anytime some nice God-fearing Christian type folk would drive by and see all these naked hippies and bohemians, they'd say, "Oh my God." And so it became known as Oh My God Hot Springs. Now, unfortunately, I guess there were just too many complaints from the good, solid God-fearing folk. And I also, to be fair, think that some of the people living at the hot spring were trashing it and making a huge mess. So the government went in and bulldozed the entire spring back in 1993, I think. I mean, completely obliterated it. There's no sign of it left anymore. There's no foundations or traces. Obviously, it was just a pool and a bunch of buses and stuff. It's completely gone, and there is no trace of the hot spring left whatsoever. But I still thought it would be kind of interesting to go out and check out the site where it used to be. And, well, just sort of pay my respects, if you will, to the naked kooks that came before me. Because I consider myself, that's right, I consider myself just another one in a long and distinguished line of naked kooks. So I'm down here at the Salton Sea. I'm gonna find the site where this Oh My God hot spring was. And by gum, even if there's no hot spring there anymore, I'm gonna camp out naked. The only obstacle is I gotta figure out where the dang thing was. Okay, like I said, the government bulldozed it, completely obliterated it. Every trace of it was removed. Well, it was bulldozed in, I think, 1993. And then I think there was a big old rusted out school bus that some hippies had been living in that was actually there until 2003 or 2013, fairly recently. But even that was removed. So, trust me, I did a lot of Google searching trying to figure out where this hot spring is. And there is almost zero information online. It kind of blew my mind, to be honest. Like, I couldn't believe how little information there was about this place online. Now, obviously, my first step in searching for it was to Google, Oh My God hot springs, but it was really astonishing how little information came up. All these weird old blogs and websites that kind of mentioned it, but didn't say where it was. I did find, in my Google image searching, a picture of an informational signboard marking the site of where Oh My God hot springs used to be. So the site is apparently marked with a signboard. Where that signboard is, I couldn't figure out, man, and I did a lot of searching online. So I decided the only way to get to the bottom of this is to go boots on the ground, or I should say, flops on the ground, and go poking around myself and find the site and do my little ceremony. Okay, because Christopher McCandless spent a lot of time here at Slab City, a squatters encampment on the east side of the Salton Sea, well, a lot of people assume that the hot spring he camped at was the hot spring right here outside Slab City, which I don't mean to be rude, but it's a pretty funky hot spring because I think a lot of the people who live here actually use it as like the town bathtub and laundromat. Anyway, this was definitely not Oh My God hot springs. No, sir. We're going to have to keep on hunting, and I'm going to have to drive over from the east side of the sea to the west. Okay, I'm here with my friend Scott, and he excuse me, I'm here with my friend Wonder Cookie, and he actually has a copy of Into the Wild, the book about Christopher McCandless, that describes where Oh My God Hot Springs is on his Kindle. So Scott, what does it say about the location of Oh My God Hot Springs?
So Ron France in the book inquires, "Where's your camp?" Franz inquired. And Chris says, "Oh, out past Oh My God Hot Springs," McCandless replied. And Franz says, "I've lived in these parts 6 years now and never heard of the place goes by that name. Show me how to get there." So they drove a few minutes down the Borrego Salton Seaway. Then McCandless told him to turn left, which would be south, into the desert, where a rough 4x4 track twisted down a narrow wash. After a mile or so probably in that wash, they arrived at a bizarre encampment where some 200 people had gathered to spend the winter living out of their vehicles.
Okay, far out, so we just go down the Salton Seaway.
A few minutes.
And then there'll be a 4x4 road that we go down about a mile.
Track.
It sounds like we definitely need to go over to the west side of the Salton Sea. Okay, so after reading the description of where this hot spring was in the book Into the Wild, we did some Googling, and well, it looks like that whole area is actually part of a state vehicular recreation area, basically a big off-roading playground where people can take their side-by-sides and ATVs out and drive around their dirt bikes. So gosh, I don't know if there's going to be any trace at all left of these hot springs that hasn't been totally obliterated by motorized toys. But we do have a few leads, because I also posted about this on my Facebook page when I first decided I wanted to try to find these hot springs. I put up a post asking if anybody knew anything about where Oh My God Hot Springs used to be, and I got some pretty valuable tips and information. One of my personal friends used to come out here with his parents when he was younger, so he actually sent me old photos of him and his parents camping there way back in the day in like the 80s. It's amazing. I guess they used to camp in a teepee, which is friggin' awesome. By the way, shout out to my friend Vic for sending me these old photos, because man, they're gonna prove an invaluable resource when we get to the general area where we think the springs were, because we can kind of try to match up the ridgeline in the back of the photos. Now, I also got a bunch of false leads from people who knew or were familiar with that general area and all the off-roading trails, because there's this one trail you can take to an old hippie commune, which a lot of people assumed was the hot springs because a bunch of hippies lived there. But it wasn't a commune. They just all lived in their vehicles at a hot spring. So the old hippie commune is actually something totally different. Believe it or not, there were two kind of hippie hangouts in the same general area back in those days. The best information I found doing my own searching online was that the hot springs were located in a wash, which was confirmed by my friend's memories of camping there as a kid, but that it was called Bus Wash, because I guess one of the old school buses that some hippie lived in was just sitting there, rusted out and abandoned for years after the hot springs were bulldozed. I think the bus wasn't actually removed until 2003, so I guess that wash became informally known as Bus Wash. So I tried Googling, looking up where is Bus Wash. It's not the official name, I guess, because it wasn't marked on any maps that I found. I found a brief mention on an off-roading trails website that said Bus Wash is a short, sandy wash that connects Holly Road to the Soldado Wash. And so I looked on Google Maps in that general area to see where if there was a Holly Road, and I did. I found a Holly Road that leads to a Soldado wash. So I think, oh my God, hot spring must be somewhere in that general vicinity. But Scott and I did a bunch of searching on Google Maps on satellite mode, and then he has another app he uses called Gaia. I mean, in that area, there is no evidence of anything. I mean, supposedly these hot springs were bulldozed and then concreted over. So yeah, even though it's in a real sandy area and it's in a wash, and so I'm sure tons of sand must have blown over it in the intervening years. There's not even an area that looks like it's been kind of tampered with, you know, a disturbed area anywhere near Holly Road. But I'm pretty sure these hot springs were near Holly Road because of one particular tidbit that my Facebooking turned up. I was searching, you know, for any mention of bus wash, oh my God, hot springs, and I did find a comment on a Facebook page for this state vehicular recreation area. They have a Facebook page, and so they were actually looking for people's old photos of the hot springs because they want to put a monument up at the site, or they did. This post was from like 10 years ago. And so I was reading the comments on that post, and one guy commented, "Oh yeah, the hot springs on Holly Road." And he said something like, "I burned many gallons of gas driving up and down that road trying to look at the naked chicks." So I'm pretty sure Holly Road is somewhere near where the hot springs were. But again, we looked at the area all up and down Holly Road and a little bit past Holly Road, and there really didn't look like there was any areas where the ground had been disturbed, even though it's almost 30 years ago now. I guess really the best thing is we need to get out there and go boots on the ground and look around for ourselves. Now, in the meantime, I got another email tip from a viewer, or at least somebody who follows my Facebook page, and he did a ton of research into this. He went on some old Cal topo maps and found where the sites of old springs were. He also cross-referenced Into the Wild, the description of how far he was from town and this and that. And he pinpointed an area not too far from Holly Road that does still have a bunch of trees, and there's looks to be kind of like a concrete pad or something. So that seems very promising. So anyway, Scott and I are cruising over to the west side to go do some boots on the ground searching for ourselves. Hopefully we'll be able to camp at the site of the hot springs tonight. Depends on the condition of the sandy wash, but at the very least, we ought to be able to hike to the site where the springs were and, well, toast the memory of this late great hippie camp with a cocktail. So we're driving up to Salton City, which is the closest town to where this hot spring was. And there's some little mini market there. And we're gonna go in and see what we can find that would make an appropriate cocktail. All right, we did some solid research in there, looking at old versions of Google Maps going all the way back to before they bulldozed the springs. We still weren't really able to find the springs because the maps didn't have such great resolution back then, the satellite imagery, but we pinpointed a couple places that looked promising. So our plan is we're gonna drive out and leave Scott's non-four-wheel drive vehicle at a safe location, and then, well, just do some off-roading and exploring. And if we find the springs, well, we're gonna celebrate with a little cocktail we're gonna call Into the Wild Turkey. It was all we could think of. Okay, Scott's gonna leave his van here and we're gonna go cruising around somewhere in this desert right out here is where this hot spring used to be. I feel confident. How do you feel, Scott?
We have the drinks ready for the successful toast
Yeah,
later.
and I'm not drinking wild turkey unless I find this dang hot spring. Okay, we're at a place called Truck Haven. It's basically just a big 4x4 proving ground where you can go drive your truck up and down a bunch of different obstacles. But there's a map here that shows all the trails in the off-road vehicle area, and it's very interesting. Okay, this is the whole Ocotillo Wells area, and then we're here, the 4x4 training area, and there's Bus Wash. Clearly marked on the map, look at that. So the hot spring is somewhere in there. Oh, that's your car. Yeah, that's where we left his car.
See the wash?
So you think it's not on Bus Wash, you think it's over here?
Yeah.
Okay, Scott's hunch is that it's over here. Okay, just doing a little recon. We just drove down Holly Road, which is where that guy on Facebook said he used to blaze up and down burning gas looking at naked chicks at the hot spring. Well, guess what? There's an intersection right here of Holly Road and Bus Wash. Okay, this is Bus Wash. This is where the friggin', I guess, bus used to be. It looks real soft and sandy, and I'll be honest with you, I'm really not comfortable driving in sand, even though I have four-wheel drive. I've been stuck in sand before, and so looking at this Bus Wash, it looks way too soft and sandy for my blood. But that's okay, because Scott's hunch, where he thinks it is much like pretty far east of here, and so we're gonna go drive back to where he left his car, and he identified another wash there that honestly didn't really look like that good of a road either, but he seems to think I can do it with no problem. Yikes. Okay, well, it doesn't look like there's anything here that ever would have been a hippie hot spring encampment, so no sense in spending any more time over here. I think we ought to just roll on.
Into the wild.
Okay, yikes, that didn't go so great. We only went like 0.1 miles, and it got really soft and sandy. Now, I know you guys are probably going, well, you have a 4Runner, just driving it, but I don't know, man. I really don't think it's a good day to get stuck in sand. And this is very soft, deep sand. Yeah, there's a lot of tire tracks in it, but it's razors and ATVs and such, you know? I mean, I was reading on the website for this SVRA that some of these trails aren't even recommended for stock 4x4 vehicles. Like, this stuff is for people who have all kind of tricked out rigs. Now, there's a power line road that is an alternate route we could try taking, so maybe we should do that. Okay, we were pretty much able to drive right to the spot that Scott had a hunch was the place. How do you feel about this?
Having trouble with the hunch.
Let's just poke around and see if we notice any signs of concrete or disturbance. Golly, where were these hippies? Scott's hunch didn't pan out because we tried to match it up with the background of my friend's camping pictures, and it just didn't match up. So since we're here anyways, we're gonna go try the site that my viewer emailed me and see if that's a possibility.
Because there's a lot of seeps there and a lot of
seeps, a lot of trees. Could be it. Gosh, let's go find out. Okay, this is the site that my viewer pinned and sent me that he thought was a possibility, because they did concrete over the hot spring. So that could just be, it was bigger than that though, the spring. It looked like from the pictures. It's like I'm looking for any clue possible. You know, there's these little tiny hoof prints in the sand. It'd be nice to find some like beer cans. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be awesome to find a bunch of old pull tabs from old beer cans or something like that. Like, just some indication that a bunch of slovenly hippies lived here. You know, supposedly they made an ungodly mess, and yeah, the feds came in and bulldozed it and cleaned it up, but they couldn't have gotten everything. Surely there's gotta be some metal trash left behind. Where was that interpretive sign? I mean, we found that picture online as an interpretive sign talking about, oh my God, hot springs. Well, where was that? I mean, the blog that I found it on, it was some people in an RV that were camping in the area. And I know they didn't drive their RV way out here on these roads. The ridge line, the hills, are very clearly visible behind the teepee, and they just don't match up here. So I guess it is back farther towards Holly Road. And to be fair, that is where the hottest tip of all came from, which was the guy riding his bike up and down, looking at the naked girls. Okay, one last gander at this cement platform. But yeah, I mean, it's got these bolts sticking out of it. It looks like a generator or something might have been mounted on it. And it might have just been some kind of pump for a geothermal well or something. In fact, you can see there's a pipe back here in the bushes that might have been... Oh, look at that. It's coming... I don't know if you can see, but it's coming out of the ground there. It's a big old pipe coming out, pumping water. So this here was likely just something to do with that mechanism.
Damn it.
Well, actually, we've got two more options. One, we're going to go back to Holly Road and just poke around there a little bit more, maybe hike around Bus Wash, see what we see. We still have an hour and a half of daylight. Two, I just noticed by looking at the photo of that sign that there's a friggin' phone number on it that you can call to the ranger station.
Phone a friend.
Which we probably should have just done at the beginning of this hunt and asked him where, because the sign says, this sign, you are standing at the site of an old hot spring.
We're not gonna call it a ranger.
This is our Hail Mary, our last effort here. We're driving down Holly
no
Road.
alcohol though, so it's not our kind of place.
Oh, well, sign says you can't drink a cocktail made of wild turkey. Okay, time is tight. We're running out of daylight. We are back here. Oops. We're back here at the intersection of Holly Road and Bus Wash, which, for the record, is where I proposed looking in the first place.
Yes.
But one idea that we had is, well, so here at this intersection there's a toilet and a bunch of dumpsters and a fence on a concrete pad. What if that's the site of the hot spring and they concreted over it and built bathrooms on top of it and dumpsters and everything just to really discourage these crazy hot spring hippies from, you know, trying to bust open and get back to the hot spring? I don't see any informational signs. I don't actually have a problem with just calling that phone number in the morning to the visitor center and they'll probably tell us exactly where the sign is. Yeah, in a way it's kind of like giving up, I guess, cheating. But this all brings to mind my adventure with my other friend, Scott, when I went looking for that A12 crash site and we couldn't find it. So I phoned a friend and got the info. And the other Scott didn't believe me and he didn't want to go, blah, blah. Well, I'm not so sure how this Scott would feel about it, but I feel like even if I have to phone a friend, it's better than not being able to find the dang hot spring. We're starting to think that, yes, the hot springs actually were where this bathroom is now. And there's kind of like a little picnic table and... Well, it looks like there was a sign here in the distance. The sign is missing. Now, the picture of the sign that I saw in that blog was from 2016, 5 years ago. A lot could happen in 5 years. Maybe somebody shot the sign out, and that is where the hot spring was. Does the ridgeline match up? Yeah, more or less. The teepee could have been down there. Let's go check it out. I think we maybe finally found it. Okay, I'm pretty sure this is where the hot spring was. I think we finally found it. Yeah, look, an old 70s or 80s Budweiser can. Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this was definitely where it was. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. We found the debris field. What do they call that in archaeology?
That was a midden.
A midden. Yeah, we found the midden.
Oh,
we found...
look, it's a 70s.
Oh, my God. It's all the trash from the old hot spring.
Oh,
look at that old Coors can. Dang, the old Budweiser bottles. Holy moly.
Yeah, Budweiser Stubbies.
Dang, Stubbies. Shut the front door. We were so close.
We found a midden.
We found the midden. And this is where that dang sign was that some idiot either shot out or who knows. Well, I'll be a monkey's uncle. This was it. Look at that. Some yahoo just tore it down. There's the picture. And you can see it's a brown sign with yellow reflectors, and there they are. Oh my goodness, look at this. Oh, what do you suppose this was? Part of something. Look at that. Oh man, we're standing right on top of a beautiful hot spring. This is like standing on a grave. This is 100% definitely it, because that was a palm tree that's in the one picture. Okay, well, we better go get your car while we still have daylight. Yeah. Get back over here. So holy cow, look at this. Is that a Jameson bottle? Well, there's some campsites here. I don't know. There's a lot of broken glass, though, so you gotta be careful. Scott, we did it. We found this
Oh my
dang
God. I
dead
can't
hot
believe it.
spring.
There's a whole damn day.
And this was
for-
a really,
Oh my God.
this is the hardest I've ever worked to find a hot spring, and I can't even soak in it. But that's okay. We can still hang out here naked. And we can, yeah, now we can have them into the wild turkeys. Yay! All right, we made it. We got both of our cars parked right here at the old, oh my God, midden. And we're gonna camp here tonight.
Oh my God.
Are we gonna camp naked though?
It's
kind of chilly.
It's like 80 degrees.
I don't know. Well, I might get naked for a minute, but hey, it's time to have that cocktail we've been promising ourselves. And you know, I made my jokes about not wanting to drink wild turkey, but after all that, this wild turkey is gonna taste like Dom Perignon.
And if she's not said anytime lately, these are into the wild turkey cocktails.
I might have mentioned it a time or two.
Okay, I like keep mentioning it. It's my favorite pun of the day. Happy hour!
Pour out, Scott. We did it.
Awesome.
We went into the wild
The curious
turkey.
types. Into the wild turkey.
Tastes like victory to me. I mean, this is actually really sad. It's almost like having a party at someone's grave. I'm going to turn my camera around and we're all going to use our imagination for just a minute and try to picture what it was like when there was a dirty, filthy, naked hippie camp here. Okay, there's the road into town that Christopher McCandless and all the others would have taken. They would have come out of Salton City, right down there. They would have come right down this road, and then they would have come down the dirt road. And back in the day, there wouldn't have just been these two lonely tamarisks and one palm stump. There would have been a bunch of bamboo and trees and bushes and a lush palm tree with foliage. And there would have been 2 hot spring pools somewhere right under this mound of debris. And if you listen, when the wind blows just right, you might hear the faint strains of ghostly Grateful Dead. Well, Scott's got a message for all the kids watching today. What did you want to tell them about these rocks?
That you could paint those with those things with little homage to oh my God, with little pictures.
So you want people to come out here and paint these rocks and make like a shrine to the former Oh My God hot spring?
Yeah, that'd be neat if you were that type.
Well, I made my own little monument, kind of like you see those monuments that are placed by E. Clampus Vitus, ECV, at different places. Well, this is my own, since I'm a woman and I'm not allowed to join the clampers, this is my own ECV monument, and my ECV stands for E. Clampus Vaginus. Now, everything from this monument was sourced right here locally in the trash middens of OMG Hot Springs. It's a mosaic showing what the hot spring would have looked like back in the day. A little beach. There's me, getting ready to go in the water. Palm trees. The sun is out. And there is my friend Vic's teepee. The same teepee that helped us figure out, by the ridge line behind it, where these hot springs were. Anyway, I'm no fool. I know some off-roader's just going to drive over this and ruin it. Yep, unfortunately, there's no more hippie paradise here. Just a big ol' off-roading playground. They paved paradise and put in a parking lot. Ooh, up, up.